Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever wanted to make a date with a friend, your significant other, to go out to eat lunch or dinner or even breakfast or brunch and not been able to decide where to go? You ask your friend, "Where do you want to go?" They say, "I don't care, you just pick." And you say, "I don't care. Why don't we just go to a default haunt that we always go to?" This is a problem that plagues our country, the paralysis of making a decision of somewhere to go eat. My name is Jordan Powell, and I think that I have come up with a solution to our problem. I'm a former photojournalist who's just recently pivoted into the world of technology, and I've created an app called the Dinner Spinner. And this is what I drew it up to look like. This is the home page. I designed it to be a mobile app in the long run, in theory. And it all kind of looks the same. We have the idea of the roulette wheel that has restaurant names on it that you can choose. It'll choose for you where you want to go. And so the idea behind it all was to be able to place a pin on a map and set a radius for where you wanted to look. And then it would you could narrow down your list here on what type of restaurant you want. Say you want tacos, say you want pizza. It would look within that radius on the map and dial in your list of all the pizza places, all the taco places, whatever you wanted to insert. And then it would populate that here. And ultimately, it would go on a wheel, like a roulette wheel, that you would spin, and wherever it landed, ideally, you would go eat. And the result would pop up and tell you where it was, what the address was, and how many stars, or what the rating is. And it would store your data of places that you had gone to already, and maybe a place that you saw on the wheel but it didn't land on that you wanted to try. And in theory, ideally, you could populate the wheel with the information from these two lists and spin it again. Now, this seems like a big undertaking, especially when you consider all the population of the wheel with all the different restaurants based off a radius on a pin on a map in any city in America or the world. But here's what it looks like. And this is actually the page where you put in your the information that where you want to search. Let me make myself a little smaller so we can show off the application here. So, when you first come to the page, this is what it looks like. This is try one of our favorites. So you click on the wheel to spin, and it takes a little while to finally land on a place. But then it tells you the name of the restaurant, the address, and the rating on Yelp. So all of this information is coming from Yelp's API. Um, but specifically, the information in this wheel is coming from an API that I made. So what I did is I accessed Yelp's API. I'll take you to the code here. Hmm. So this is what the information from Yelp's API looks like. It gives you the all sorts of information like the name, the URL, whether or not it's open, how many reviews it has, what kind of food it is, and the rating and the address, all sorts of stuff. And so I modeled my API in a similar way to this. Here's the template, if you will, for my API's information. And right now there are, I think, 12 entries in my API that look like this. And that is what's populating this wheel. So it's pulling from the API on the home page just so you have something to go to choose from. If you have no idea where you want to go and you just want something completely random, you can choose from one of my personal favorites here in Nashville, Tennessee. But if you wanted to go even deeper, you could go to the Need a Rec page where you can sort by category from that same API. So this page is accessing my API also. Um, it's everything that's on that wheel, but just more narrowed down. But where the magic really happens is here on the pick page. So this is directly accessing Yelp's API with the category of hot and new, which is new things to Yelp in a particular city or based off a particular location. So all of these slices on the wheel are constantly changing. I just used this yesterday, and the only one that is similar, or the only one that's carried over, is this one. Everything else is completely new. But the idea is that you come in here and you type in what kind of food you want. So let's say pizza, we want it in Nashville. And we want to do it within 4 miles of Nashville. So we search. Please forgive me, my API sometimes falls asleep. There we go. And so it populates up to 20 different options based off the set of parameters here that you can spin to try to find. So that really brings me to my first big roadblock, which is Yelp's API does not like the middleware that I used in my application. So I can't directly call their API from my application. So I had to use a proxy. So what I did was I used my API that I made to call it. So here is my Yelp page, my Yelp router, and here is the call for the page that we were just on. So what it does is it pumps in the information that we send the website through this menu, and it uses this URL with the dynamic information here to access from Yelp. So this is my API making that call. But first it has to come in through my index.js. So the hot and new call is right here. So this populates before the page is done rendering so we can interact with it. And if we come over here, we can see in this URL that it says hot and new with the dynamic location and information. And if we go up to line 144, this is really where the wheel happens. But if we come down, we can see it calling my API, which I called Dinner Spinner API, with the information that we get from the page, the pick page. So the wheel is really interesting. Well, before I move on, I wanted to state that utilizing a proxy is something that wasn't in the scope of the course, but it's something that I had to do to get my application to work. So big shout out to the instructors, specifically Matt, for helping me figure out how to use a proxy in my project and using the API that I had already made. So this is where the magic happens right here. I downloaded a library to populate the wheel. So the wheel is totally made from JavaScript from the library that I downloaded. And it's not interactive, so that means you have to actually click it. You can't like spin it, but you could take your finger if you're on a phone or take your mouse and grab and pull to vary the speed of which the wheel spins, which is pretty cool. But just for ease of use, I made that false, where the angle The stop point is at 90 degrees, so it stops here. So whatever index or whatever slice is on this when it stops, that is the index that it stops on, so it knows what information it needs to pull. And here's the colors, and it pushes, we're pushing everything from the API into an empty items array, which is how it's being populated. But I believe the maximum number for slices on the wheel is 20. And I know this seems like a lot, but I feel like the agile mindset really helped me with this project. So breaking it down into little bitty chunks, executing and figuring out how to do the small things, and then at the end you add up all those small things and you have one big thing. Getting all that stuff to connect and work together was really important for making this happen, because it seems like a lot, but it's all just a bunch of little things coming together. So my future ideas for this application are, I want it to be a phone app, um, so you can just pull up the app on your phone no matter where you are, and in the future be able to use the GPS from the device that's being used to populate the lat and long for where it needs to search. So right now you just have to type in a city name right here, and it just selects whatever is in the map as Nashville or St. Louis or Minneapolis or whatever. It's taking a set lat and long and working from there in your radius. So if you wanted to be more precise and do it from, say, where I currently am, say you're visiting a new city and you want to see what's within walking distance of where you're staying, you could just open it and do it from your set location from the application, like from your device that's using the app. Or you can put in an address, but that is down the road. So for right now, you have to type in a city name. That and the ability for it to just be a phone app, and the storage of the um, restaurants that you'd been to. If you noticed in my wireframes earlier, it had a spot to where you could save the restaurants that you'd already been to, or make a list of future restaurants that you wanted to go to, and you could use that information to populate the wheel and choose. Um, that did not get implemented in this iteration of the application, but that is definitely something that I'd like to do down the road. I really think this is a cool app, and I think that it solves a pretty pretty normal problem that sometimes we can have. I know that I have conversations with my wife about, what do we want to eat? I don't know. What do you want? Okay, let's just do the thing we always do instead of trying to find something new. So hopefully this app will solve that problem and help people branch out of their current, maybe a current restaurant rut, if you will, and explore and find something completely new. Thank you.